Oh, look at that. That was an awesome bite. That's a good fish. Oh yeah, nice fish. Just came off that little shallow laydown and like nothing. There we go, look at that fish. That's a freaking nice one there. It's a solid fish. Fish was sitting in. Fish was right there, guys. See that little bit of sticks? Right there in like 2 foot of water. A fat old fish.
Hey, welcome back to the channel. Temperatures are finally cooling down around here. We're in the early fall period. And man, fall's an exciting time. It can be difficult. You go through that little fall transition period. So you're going to have some tough days. But you can also have some really, really awesome days. And one of the things I really like about fall is you get a consistent topwater bite. I mean, who doesn't like to see a fish blow up on the topwater? Around here we got a lot of grass, so a frog becomes a key player, a toad, just working the mats and the outside grass lines. But also walking baits, you know, like a little spook style bait, a shower blow, or a popper. We get a lot of schooling fish. Another bait that really works well in the same scenarios and doesn't get as much love, I feel like, and it's a buzzbait. You know, buzzbaits come in all shapes and sizes. I'm going to talk about just a few of the different ones that are real popular, and then I'm going to show you the one that I really like. I think you guys need to know about this. It's a straight up fish catcher, and it's going to put some fish in the boat this fall.
Oh, that's a good fish. That was awesome. Came right off that lay down. Ate it too. Absolutely ate it. Come here, buddy.
There's a lot of different buzzbaits out there in the market. They're made by a variety of companies, but I think there's a few things you really need to pay attention to when you're going to be throwing a buzzbait. This buzzbait right here is the Head Knocker by Crock Gator Bait Company, and it is designed to knock the blade against the head. So as water pushes this blade, it kind of forces it to go down, and it hits the head of that. It's a little bit hard to do without it, but you can hear that right there. Yeah. So it's a louder buzzbait. It's going to draw fish from further away when you got a lot of wind or fishing over deep vegetation. This is a good option. So it's a head knocker buzzbait. Another style that's out there is the clacker. So you've got this little fin right here, and as the blade rotates, it makes that little clacking noise. It's another popular style of buzzbait. They make them with holes in the blade. So you see these little holes in there, that leaves a bubble trail. And some people think that, you know, a fish comes up, he sees that little bubble trail. It just allows him to follow the buzzbait and find what's making all that commotion. But I think they can probably figure it out without the bubble trail. But a lot of people like the bubble trail and gives them confidence. So that's 3 of your basic blades. There's also different blade colors. You know, you've got black, you've got gold, and you've got the silver. But one of my favorite colors of blades, and you don't hear much about it, is a white. We'll talk about that here in just a minute.
right. Another one on the buzzbait. I think we're on to something, folks. I think we're on to something.
The other thing to consider is the actual color of the skirt material. Black has always been a good fall color, as well as white. You know, most of the time in the fall, you're focusing on shad. The bass are feeding up on shad, so I really think you only need two colors, black and white. Obviously, white's mimicking shad. Black just puts off a really good silhouette, and it's just, for whatever reason, it just flat out catches fish. So I keep it simple, black or white. And the other thing is the actual material. I mean, some people like a skirt, but the last several years, a toad has become really popular. The Big Bite Baits Tour Toad or the Zoom Orny Toad have been really, really popular. And what the toad does that the skirt cannot is it allows you to run this sucker through vegetation. You can run it through sparse vegetation a little bit better than the skirted blade or the skirted buzzbait, and you can also skip it. I mean, you can skip this sucker way back in laydowns, up underneath docks. Any place you could skip a jig, you can skip this buzzbait. And it also gets up out of the water, planes really good. It's a good option. It's got a little bit bigger profile to it, and it just has a few different perks that the skirted buzzbait does not. I mean, you can't really skip a skirt. It just doesn't happen. You know, this has got that flat plane right there, and it just shoots right back into anywhere that you want it to go. Now, the other thing that to consider, obviously the blade size is something that you want to consider. The bigger the blade, the slower you can reel the buzzbait. Sometimes they want it really slow, sometimes they want it really fast. You do have to make sure that you don't have too big of a blade for the actual weight, the actual lead part of the buzzbait, because it's not going to work. You need some weight to hold that bait in the water. If you got too big of a blade for the size of the buzzbait, it's just going to roll over and it's going to look like crap. So you got to kind of balance that out. There is an upper end to that blade to weight ratio, but that's something that most buzzbaits that you buy in the store are going to be balanced properly. So that's not something that you're going to have to deal with.
Light on the bank right there. There he is. Right. This is fun. Figured it out. It bites. Nice. All right.
I got way too many buzzbaits, folks. I mean, here's one box I just grabbed off the shelf. These are mostly head knockers, but I got a ton more. And man, there's so many different buzzbaits out there, and there's a lot of really good ones out there. Leave in the comment section, what are some of your favorite buzzbaits? Because there's little like niche buzzbaits that people have found along the way, and they produce for them. I'd love to hear, you know, your thoughts on like blade combinations and what you put on them and the different brands and stuff. But I showed you all those, but there's one that I've really come to like over the last several years, and it's something you don't really hear a whole lot about. It's this guy right here. This is a little 1/4 ounce. This is a Cumberland Pro Lures buzzbait. They don't make these anymore, but really the important thing about this buzzbait is just the things we're getting ready to talk about. So a 1/4 ounce frame. It has a small white blade, and then I put a swim bait on there. Years ago, I figured out the power of this thing. I was fishing. It was a really overcast, rainy day, and you know, I'm like, this just seems like it should be a topwater day. I threw some walking baits, no luck. Threw a chug bug, no luck. I'd been catching a lot of fish on a chug bug that year, and I picked up this little spinnerbait, or this little buzzbait, and it had a skirt on it. I pulled the skirt off of it because I wasn't really getting any bites. I mean, I was getting some fish to pull down on the skirt, but they weren't blowing up on it or anything. But it was too small for a toad, so I put this little swim bait on there. And man, immediately I started getting bites. And I think I ended up catching like 30 or 40 fish that day. It was ridiculous. They were just on a buzzbait that day. And since that day, I built a lot of confidence in this exact setup. It's perfect fall size buzzbait. A lot of times the fish are focused on smaller forage in the fall. You get the young of the year shad. You know, the shad spawns basically in May and June, depending on what part of the country you live in. And those shad are starting to grow. They're still small, they're not adults. So a lot of the bait fish that are in the system are a little bit smaller. So a 1/4 ounce buzzbait, it just appeals to fish of all size. Now, one important thing I will tell you about the swim bait that you choose, I don't think you want like a Kitech. You don't want something that's really soft. The swim bait that I've been using is a Reaction Innovations Little Dipper. And a couple of the reasons why is the tail doesn't, basically you've got kind of a more rigid center section. You know, it's not like a Kitech where it really folds over like that. This is pretty durable, this section. And there's other swim baits out there that will work. I think the Gambler Little Easy would be a good one. The Big Bite baits, I think it's a Cane Thumper. Those type of swim baits that are a little bit stiffer, a little bit harder, they're not real like jello-like. I don't think you want that. This tail, you don't want a tail that gets too far over to get caught up in the hook. But this has been a really good one, this Little Dipper. It's a 3-inch swim bait. And stick with shad colors. This is called Pearl Blue Shad. White Trash has been a good one. Smallmouth Magic, I think, is another really good one. But just something that is shad. A 1/4 ounce buzzbait, you can cover a lot of water with it. And that white blade, I think there's something about that white blade and the combination of this little swim bait.
Big bite. Fish is way up in that grass. There we go. Oh, that's a good fish. Oh, come here, man. Don't do that. Settle down, buddy. Gotcha. All right. Conditions changed, so we changed with them. Just threw over the backside of that grass and buzzbait with a minnow on there. I like throwing that minnow on a buzzbait. Like I throw a toad, and that's good too. But good and healthy fish. Barely got her out of there. I mean, she absolutely clobbered it. That's fun. All right, let's keep on moving. Keep on keeping on.
It just straight up gets bites. And I like to throw it on braid. I'm throwing this on 30-pound braid. But when you're throwing a topwater on braid, it's real important to have a soft rod. You know, if you've got too stiff of a rod, you're going to pull that buzzbait out of, or any topwater bait out of the fish's mouth, because braid has no stretch. So it's just, as soon as you get that bite, you're going to get the hook in them. It's nice for really long casts. One important thing about that bite, when you see that fish blow up on that buzzbait, it's going to be hard to not just let them have it, but you don't want to do that. You just want to keep reeling. Just keep reeling and let it load up, and then just kind of pull into them. You don't need to jack them. You're not slacklining like you're jig fishing. That braid has no stretch. So if you just keep reeling, that rod tip is going to bow up, and just pull into them. That's all you need to get that hook in the fish's mouth. So this is just a crankbait topwater. It's a 7'1" medium. It's by Virtus. It's a really soft rod, guys. It seems like it's too soft to really drive the hook in, but it's not. With that braid, you want something that's really soft. Those fish, if you've got too stiff of a rod, yeah, you're going to get the hook in them. A lot of times you're going to pull that hook out, and then when they jump, basically your rod tip takes the place of any kind of stretch that you would have on fluorocarbon or mono. So you want a really soft rod that gives, because that braid doesn't have any stretch. So if you're missing fish on braid, go to a lot lighter rod. And even though your mind will say this is too light of a rod to get the job done, it's not true. You can still get them in. It's, you know, just like a crankbait deal. You just don't want to pull those hooks out. This has been a great setup. So this fall, try this. I'm sure there is a company out there, and you know, I don't know exactly what brand or what company will carry a buzzbait with a white blade, but you can make these things too. I mean, you can buy these frames, Jan's Net Craft, lureparts.com. There's a bunch of different places out there that you can actually buy the frame, and you can just put your little blade on there, get you some swim baits, and have a heck of a time. So next time you go out there this fall and it looks like it's a topwater day, try that little 1/4 ounce buzzbait. Give me a thumbs up if you appreciate the content, and a subscribe would be greatly appreciated. Until next time.